Well, when Secretary Clinton came to Munich 2 years ago, she handed over the famous reset button, and they had a good laugh, she and Minister Lavrov at that time, because there were some issues with the translation and how it went. But it turned out to be a big symbol for what we've been doing in developing the U.S.-Russian relationship over the last 2 years. And I would say this treaty is one small piece of that reset effort. We've had a huge spectrum of activities going on, and this treaty was very important, I would say, in continuing our close relationship on the nuclear front, but we've done so much more that is new in the last 2 years. The example I like to give is the Afghan Transit Agreement. The Russian Federation has agreed with us on a set of procedures to allow our military to move military materiel through the Russian Federation to Afghanistan. It's really cut down on the amount of resources, money we have to pay for gasoline and fuel and so forth to get supplies to our men in the field in Afghanistan. So it's really been a very big help to our effort overall. That's just another example, but across the board we've been working very closely with the Russian Federation on things like counter-narcotics, counter-smuggling. This has been very important not only for the Russian Federation itself in their fight against narcotics and drug smuggling, but it's also been very, very important for our European allies. So all in all, I think the reset has had an impact on our security, our mutual security with the Russian Federation, and also security for the European and Eurasian community overall. Well, it's very interesting because I had two opportunities. I worked on the first strategic arms reduction talks back in 1990 and 1991, and now led this delegation. It was a great honor to lead this delegation in 2009 and 2010. So I saw both the negotiations at the end of the Cold War and what it's like now after we've been working in a more kind of friendly way over the years since the Cold War ended. I will say that the biggest difference in this New START treaty negotiating process was that we have had 15 years of experience implementing the START treaty. We had very experienced inspectors working on our delegation, and the Russians had experienced inspectors working on their delegation. Those two groups of technical experts really understood a lot about each other's nuclear forces, and it made a huge difference. We weren't approaching it with the lack of knowledge and insight and indeed mutual confidence that we had in the negotiation of the New START treaty. So I would say that's the biggest difference. It's now more than 15 years since the end of the Cold War, and it so happens that in that 15-year period we had a big treaty to implement. We ended up with a big success in that implementation, and it gave us a real foundation of mutual confidence to move forward in negotiating this new treaty. The fact that we had a large cadre of inspectors working on our delegation, these are people who really had worked to implement the START treaty over the last 15 years, that was extremely important. But they also spoke Russian very well, and the Russian inspectors spoke English very well. So we actually had a situation where, because of the experience we'd had implementing the START treaty, yes, we had basic knowledge about each other's strategic nuclear weapons, the way they're deployed, the kinds of bases they have, but also these two groups of people spoke each other's languages and had, in some cases, a professional acquaintanceship. So it was much different from the Cold War period when we really had no mutual knowledge of that kind, when we didn't really speak each other's languages, and it really made a big difference to how the negotiations were conducted.